We will look for them in a bit. All right, so I hope your homework went okay. Grab it because we're going to go over that. Because like I said, you have a quiz tomorrow over your directional terms and the regions that we're doing today. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I want to go over yesterday's homework. So let me go ahead and share my screen because, again, I like having visuals to go over things. Don't forget to do this daily attendance each day. One, I enjoy reading your comments in there. Some of them are kind of funny when we talked about pee and poop and you're like, I learned that pee and poop are different. And I was like, good, I'm glad you learned something. But make sure you do it. Plus, that way, if I somehow miss you checking into our meetings, I always have documentation there that you were on Canvas and did stuff today. So that's just a good backup, that a proof of you being present. So make sure you go do that. All right, so I'm going to pull up the notes from yesterday just because I like having the visual as we go through these terms. All right, so I'm just going to go through that paragraph. One of the things I have found easier for me is, and my kids, is if you substitute normal everyday words. So like superior, you would also call this above. So if you'd say like, my nose is above my mouth, it's superior to my mouth. And my chin is below my mouth. So my chin is inferior. So if you substitute like above and below, in front for anterior, behind for posterior, those kind of help. All right, so going over your homework, in the anatomical position, the nose and belly button are on the blank body surface. So nose, belly button. So number one, those are on the anterior surface. The calves and shoulder blades are on blank body surface. So number two, the calves and shoulder blades, those are both posterior. And the soles of the feet are on the blank, or the most blank part of the body. Okay, this one gets a little tricky. And one of the things you need to remember is arms and legs, we always use proximal and distal. If we're on arms and legs, we're using proximal and distal. Oh, go back. No, forward. And the reason for that is if I look at my model here, my elbow, remember proximal is closer to the trunk and distal is further away. So my elbow is proximal to my wrist. If I incorrectly, and this is not what you do, said that the elbow is superior to the wrist, what happens if she raises her arm above her head? Well, now it's no longer superior, but it's still proximal and closer to the trunk. So that's why arms and legs, we always, always, always use proximal distal. So for number 3 on your worksheet, the feet are the most distal part of the body because they're on the legs. Number 4, the nipples are blank to the shoulders. So nipples are here. So the nipples are blank to the shoulders. So they're below my shoulder. So that would be inferior. And blank to the armpits. So they're towards the middle from my armpit. So that's medial. Medial doesn't have to be on this midline. It just means towards the midline. So the nipples are medial to the armpit. Like this is the medial part of your elbow, medial part of the knee, and therefore lateral knee, lateral elbow. All right, back to the work. Number 6, the heart is blank to the spine, okay, and blank to the lungs. So my heart is in front of my spine. I'm going to switch over to a picture more like this one. That one will work. So my heart is in front of my spine. So we say anterior and blank to the lungs. The answer is medial. And this is a little tricky. Some of you struggle with this because you've always seen pictures like this that are 2-dimensional and you just think, oh, it's in front. It's not. Your heart sits here in the middle of your lungs. It's not on the left, like when you say the pledge. That's wrong. You've been lied to on that one. Your heart sits in the middle. Now it tilts to the left a little, but it sits in the middle, and you can see my lungs kind of overlap a little if I made my lungs a little see-through. So the heart's medial to the lungs, so it's in the middle. So number 7 would be medial. The 8, the knee is blank to the toes. It's proximal because it's closer in, but blank to the thigh. It's further away, so it's distal to the thigh. In humans, the ventral surface is also called the anterior surface. If an incision cuts the brain into left and right portions, the section is said to be sagittal, because sagittal cuts you into left and right. If the brain is cut into superior and inferior parts, okay, that's where you have to kind of pause and think, what's superior and inferior? Oh, that's top and bottom. So if I'm cut into top and bottom, that's a transverse section. And transverse doesn't have to be like cut in half like this picture, like a magician sawed you in half. Anything along the body, I could cut along here, you can cut along the brain. Like this picture is a transverse cut of the brain versus this one is sagittal and this one is frontal. Transverse can be anywhere along the body. As long as it's cutting top and bottom, it's transverse. And then, oh, that was 12. And then you were told to cut an animal along 2 planes so that the paired lungs are in both sections, which sounds super wordy. So if you think about how can I cut the body so I get both lungs in both sections? So transverse makes sense, right? Like I can cut you across the armpits and I get top of both lungs, bottom of both lungs. So that's transverse. Frontal or coronal is your other answer, because I can cut you this way and get the front of both lungs and the back of both lungs. Sagittal does not work because then I only get the right lung or the left lung. So sagittal won't work. So that one is frontal and transverse. And then the last part, the thoracic cavity is blank to the abdominopelvic. So here's my thoracic. So it's above abdominopelvic. So therefore it is superior to the abdominopelvic and blank to the spinal. So in this picture, here's my thoracic cavity. It's in front of my spinal column. So it's anterior to the spinal column. All right, do you guys have any questions on any of those? Okay, so part B, number 1 is elbow, 2 is shoulder, 3 is forehead, 4 is muscles, 5 is knee, 6 is small intestine. And then the last part, part C on your worksheet, is you're telling me which cavity things are in. So you have to kind of know where those organs are located. So 1 is A, 2 is A, 3 is A, 4 is A, 5 is A. There's lots of stuff in that abdominopelvic cavity. Because you can see on here, you've got, liver, stomach, spleen, pancreas, gallbladder, large intestine, small intestine. In this pelvic area, you've got kidneys up here, you've got your bladder, you've got all your genital organs, lots of stuff in the abdominopelvic. All right, number 6 is C, 7A, 8D, 9D, 10B, 11A, 12A. All right, don't need me to go over any of those.
For section B, what was number 4?
Number 4 was muscles. So which one is superficial, like closer to the outside, is your muscles. Because your skeleton is underneath those muscles. So muscle is superficial to your skeleton.
For the quiz, did you say it was going to be like part A, where we like fill in the directions or whatever?
Yes. It won't be done as a paragraph, but yes, it'll be like that with directions. So your quiz is tomorrow. It will be those directions, and I'll just give you things like the knee is blank to the ankle. The eyes or the nose is blank to the chin. And there's a drop down list of words, and you pick which word.
That's
8 and 9 on A again.
8 and 9. 8 was H, proximal, and 9 is B, distal. Okay, so tomorrow, just so you know, I will be on probably a good 25 minutes early tomorrow, so that if you have any questions and you need help with anything, you can ask and I can help you. So we'll do like some tutoring tomorrow before class if you want to get on a little early. I don't know if your first period gets done early or not. I will also be on really starting about 8:30 tomorrow if you want to get on it for like morning tutoring before first period, because I know you guys, some of you have a first period class. All right, for today, we're going to add on and do these regional terms. So remember yesterday when we talked like directions to Kohl's, and I mentioned, you know, like, oh, go to Lifetime and turn at Sonic. Those are regions. Well, they're regions of the body. Some of these you already know, like your nose is your nasal region, your mouth is your oral region, stuff like that. But I'm going to have you learn there's a list of 42 of them. It's having trouble opening, like sometimes it opens, sometimes it doesn't today. If it does not open for you, I also put it in our Google team so you can access it there as well. Because I've done this like 5 times and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Canvas is being a little strange. So it is also over in your Google team as well. So you can get it there. It's just a list of words to know. Miss Upmore also goes over that list with you. And she tells you like all of our little tips and tricks to help you out. For example, buccal means your cheek. I think of someone playing the bugle, like bugle, bugle. If you've ever seen pictures of like Louis Armstrong playing the bugle, like his cheeks are big and huge and puffy. So I always think of buccal sounds like bugle and big puffy cheeks. Mental is your chin. So I think of that statue of the thinking man that's, you know, like mental and thinking, and he's holding his chin. Like that's how I remember mental is your chin. And so Miss Upmore goes through some of those little tips and tricks for you to help you with those. And then you have an assignment where you're going to shade different parts of the body. And so when you open it, hopefully this one opens, it looks like this. And then it just tells you like nasal, color it blue, oral, color it green. So you have to just, you know, use your iPad, color those areas. So your quiz is going to be very similar, where I'm going to tell you, have a picture of a person, and I'm going to say point to the nasal region, and you click on it. Point to the mental region, and you click on it. So is how your quiz will be on that part for tomorrow. So tomorrow, your quiz is just these regions and directions. So that superior, inferior. It is currently locked. It'll be open tomorrow, and there's a password. So I will give you the password tomorrow during our meeting. But that's it for today. So I, again, will stick around. If you have any questions, let me know. And here's your regional terms. Here they are. I also, like I said, put it in the Google team so you can get it there. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I will stick around and answer anything.